Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jess Marshall podcast. I'm Jess Marshall. This week, I've got the privilege and honor of chopping it up with Kirt Linington. He's the owner of Linear Roofing out of Irving, Texas. Kirt's from South Africa, big rugby guy. We're going to talk a bunch about staying in the game, about sticking with the program, about overcoming adversity, about entrepreneurship, and about his background in corporate America, setting him up to start what has become a very dynamic industry-leading company. I hope you enjoy the show.
They sit around, they come up with these great ideas on how to rebut something, how to handle this, how to handle that. But in application, they can't do it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think when it comes to these revenue streams, if you are at a point where you've become highly successful at something and you want to create another revenue stream, then it should not be something that takes time.
Right.
Meaning, if you go buy into another business or whatever it is, and you now have to allocate time daily to that, even if it's an hour, that is an hour away from the growth in your primary business.
Absolutely. Really, if you were talking to a younger guy, and I'm sure you talk to your people about outliers, Malcolm Gladwell. How are you ever going to get to that first 10,000 hours if you're putting 4 hours in here, 2 there, 1 there, and 1 there? No. It's never going to happen. So your growth on this long line here of becoming this expert here is stunted by you being I think it's a distraction myself. We're rolling. We're live.
Oh, yeah. Good. I thought we were live already.
It's just sort of how we do it.
Are we coming up with bloopers and all that stuff?
No. And I won't trap you into anything.
You should do some blooper reels.
And if you say something, I don't know, racially insensitive, I'll beep it out.
Okay, good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I say that stuff all the time and they beep it out for me. So that's a joke.
So the little one, so that little thing earlier, that's not going to be in the bloopers?
No, you're good.
It's recorded.
Oh, good.
I just got to let you guys know that, hey, they were actually...
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. No, you're stunting your own growth because you are not laser focused on the details of being what you want to be. So if you've made that goal and then you use a word, I've heard you use it a few times, fastidious about the details of getting to that goal, then nothing can dissuade you, right? You're not off on a rabbit trail over here and off looking at this. No, you're dialed in like a sniper on that goal.
I think one of the things I said is everything counts. Something either adds or something takes away, but everything counts. If the earth is rotating and you're standing still, you're potentially going backwards. There's no such thing as stagnation. It's either it's moving in a positive direction or it's moving in a negative direction, right? And I talk about that when we talk about all these revenue streams. Something always becomes a red-headed stepchild.
Yeah.
Right? It's like some guys say, well, why don't you go into solar? Okay, so let's say some of my guys start gravitating to solar and start doing well at it, right? And some of my guys don't. What I really just did was split my sales force into 2 different platforms where maybe there's extra revenue coming from solar, but guess what's happening to my roofing?
Yeah, going down.
It's going down.
You bet.
Right? Unless I was to start another business, hire separate people, and do that. But I only think I should do that once I've absolutely dominated my space.
Sure.
Right? And I think that's where a lot of these younger guys are going to get confused from a lot of the motivational speakers, because maybe it is and can be a good idea under the right circumstance where it's not taking up time. For example, maybe you buy a house because you saved up some extra money, you put a renter in it, and you have a property management company managing it. It takes 0 time, and maybe you got a couple of $100 in positive cash flow that comes your way. Now, that's one thing. But before you even get to that, if you actually have your own business and you're trying to grow it, you now just allocated some funding to that property.
Right.
Could that funding that you allocated to that $400 a month positive cash flow have done something to actually generate more revenue in the business that you got?
Right.
Could you have gone and bought some metal equipment or something else that
Absolutely.
generated another revenue stream within the business that you've got?
Right.
As opposed to, once again, now branching out all the
Yeah.
time. And once again, I think there's a time and a place for it, and I think it can happen. But I think a lot of young people are getting confused because the buzzword out there is you need 7 revenue streams.
Right.
All millionaires have 7 revenue streams. You know, you got to become great at something.
Yeah, you do. Becoming great at something takes discipline. At what age did you figure that out? Sekou, when you get a chance, will you kick that clock on?
Gotcha.
Thank you. Discipline, discipline, discipline.
Probably the military.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because I didn't get it growing up.
right.
Yeah.
Was it something that you started to get hints of, rugby, sports, things like that, or was that more? It was just so fun that it didn't really click in. That
It was fun, and I wanted to win, and it was probably shaping something in me, right?
Sure.
You know, for me, which I've shared with you before, based on where I came from. You know, I used to go to lost property to, you know, claim that something was mine so that I could have a sweater in winter and,
Right.
and shoes, and
Yes.
you know, I'd go home at night and put glue on my shoes because that front flap would break, right?
Yeah.
And put it under the bed in hopes that it would dry for the next day and it won't flap open again, kind of thing, and
Yeah.
wash the clothes in the bath and these kind of things.
so you're saying there was no silver spoon?
No, nothing. Yeah, none of that. But you know, that path goes either way,
You bet.
right? That either sends you down a worse path, or you know, at a young age, I don't know where it came from or how it happened, but I'd been through so many things that I'd made a mental decision that at some point in my life I would do something greater than myself, and I just never knew what it was.
Sure.
And maybe it still hasn't happened, you know,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm working in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The how old were you when you joined up to the military?
Right out of high school.
Okay.
And I started school a year early, so I was in the military like when I was just past 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had my first line in infantry.
First rank.
Yeah, my first line, and I wasn't 18, so I still couldn't go and have a beer in the bar on the barracks kind of thing.
But you could take a bullet for your country.
Absolutely,
Did your service take you overseas?
it didn't. No,
And when I say overseas, where did you grow up?
South Africa.
Yeah.
So
It's a big place.
It is a big place. I grew up in Durban, Natal.
Yeah.
And then
Go Sharks.
Yeah, go Sharks. And then went to Pietermaritzburg for high school.
Okay.
Went to Alexandra High, and then went into the military, and I got deployed out to Ladysmith, where I
Okay.
did my basic training, and then Grahamstown. I did my second phase training, and then I was deployed just outside Pietermaritzburg, where I spent a lot of time sleeping in a tent out in the middle of nowhere.
Running exercises.
No, we were deployed amongst
Gotcha.
fighting between Inkatha and ANC. So
Yeah.
we were there to protect Inkatha and ANC from killing each other.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
How long did you serve?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then short.
Would you go back and do it again?
Yes.
If that was the option, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. They say in South Africa the military is one of the best times of your life that you never want to do again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that.
Yeah.
When can you put your finger on how old you were when you decided someday I'm going to go? I'm leaving this place. I don't know where I'm going to go. Or did you know I'm going to the U.S.?
No, I had no idea that
Yeah.
I'd be in the U.S., but probably early teens, probably 12, 13,
Okay.
those kind of things. For me, I think it happened more because I'd faced so much adversity as a kid. Everything from poverty to getting beaten, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when the mental click happened at some point that, like, I don't want to, like, I want to have a better life than this.
Sure.
Like, I want to someday I'm going to do everything I can to get away from this. Now, it hasn't been smooth sailing because obviously when I got out of the military, I had a bad attitude. So
What was that all about?
yeah, just angry probably.
Yeah.
Just from everything we went through.
Sure.
I mean, there were days where I spent my day putting bodies in bags.
Man.
So, you go through some stuff,
Yeah.
and then you get out and you think you're Superman because you ain't afraid of nothing after what you've been through.
Sure.
Right? I mean, so I started working the clubs and drinking and doing all that stuff and got it out of my system, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What was the discipline from the military and the discipline from your early athletic activity, was that something that you carried with you routinely and have since in terms of strong mind, strong body type stuff?
Yeah, but it's definitely something that's built over time, right? Because what I share with people now is I don't need anyone to wake me up. I don't need anyone to motivate me. I don't need anyone to push me. It's just in my nature at this point to always want to push and be my best and expect people around me to be their best. That's a culmination of things over a very long period of time that have built upon each other, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of negative and a lot of positive things have all amalgamated to create that
Absolutely.
within you.
Yeah.
Does that drive to be ambitious, that drive to build something greater than yourself, has that ever driven people away from you?
Oh, yeah. When I was younger, and that's why I say it's been a molding process, when I was younger, it was my way or the highway.
Right.
Sure.
I
I worked in the health club business for 20 years, and when I was in my younger days, when I gave instructions and things weren't done, and I walked in,
Yeah.
out you go.
I get it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not proud of it, but it's what happened.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, get out of my club,
Sure.
and people would look at me like, "What do you mean?
Yeah.
You heard me.
Did I stutter?
Get out."
Yeah.
Right? And that's not the best way to manage, not the best way to lead, right? But that, so there are some cultural things, right? If you've been to South Africa, you'll notice that a lot of people there are maybe a little more forward, a little more direct, and they don't get, the expression goes, they don't get their knickers in a knot,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You don't have to tiptoe around it. But it may have changed. I've been out here for a minute.
Yeah.
So it may be different now. Maybe I'm just thinking maybe it was the way I think it is here too, back when growing up as well, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just evolved everywhere. Different Generation Y, Generation X. I mean,
Yeah, I think everybody, 30 years ago, nobody got their feelings hurt like they do now.
yeah.
Now you speak sternly to someone, even if you're trying to challenge them to be a better version of themselves, and they take it personally instead of seeing that, well, that's a hell of a point, and I am in the wrong. It's that there's no. Well, I say no. That's a broad, general, sweeping term, but there's very little accepting of personal responsibility, or as Jocko Willink would say, extreme ownership, right? Where, man, the buck stops with me.
Yeah.
If it's not happening, it's on me.
Yeah.
No one else. As you started to evolve as a leader and you started to see what it took to lead a successful team, did that soften the edges, or did it just change your approach in terms of how you held people accountable?
Yeah. So you become a product of your environment. Like they say, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? If you go back to your photographs with your buddies when you were younger, you'll notice you all had the same hairstyle and you're wearing similar clothes.
Sure.
Right? You just become like those you spend more time with. So I think sometimes in corporate America, you get caught up in the culture of those leaders around you, and then you become a product of that environment. Right? So one of the things, that I think has been awesome for me is all those things over the years that I wanted to do that couldn't really be done in that environment, right? I've been able to now do in my own business.
Sure.
I've taken all those things, like I say to people, read 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, right? It's a shady book, I mean, it just is.
It
It's
is.
ruthless,
Yes.
right? But what I say is take the good and utilize that.
You bet.
And I guess what I'm saying is I had an opportunity. It's like a kid that grows up that gets beaten, and then all of a sudden that kid becomes a dad and they beat their child.
Yeah.
That's an absolute no-no, right? You should have like reflected on that. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Gotta break the
I
cycle.
hated that.
Yeah.
Like I hated that with a passion. Why would I do that to my own kid just because it was done to me?
Sure.
Right? And so for me, it was taking all those things, that I didn't like and not doing them, learning from the mistakes, and then implementing all the things I wanted to that I couldn't in a larger corporate America environment. And remember, it's easy for someone to say that on the outside and say, yeah, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. But sometimes you also have to respect that once an organization grows so big, any change is so global that it's not as simple as, okay, let's do that. Do you see what I'm getting at?
I do.
So it slows that process down. But nonetheless, we started our own company, and I've been able to learn from those and implement my own things that I thought would have worked well there.
Sure.
Right?
How far into your career, once you got to the States and you started into your career building out in the health club business, how soon into that did that entrepreneurial spark set off in you? When in there did you start thinking, man, I really at some point I'm starting my own thing? Maybe I don't know what it is, but it's going to be mine and I'm going to start it.
The crazy part is it came very late. Yeah, which is interesting because I wanted to run that organization.
Gotcha.
I was fixated on running that organization, and like a racehorse with its blinkers on, you don't get to deal with too many distractions at that point,
Sure.
right? So you're just charging towards that goal, right? And so it was pretty late. I mean, I think there's right and wrong answers to this. I was focused on I wanted to run it, and I was never gonna see. So when I was younger, I probably had about 12 jobs.
Yeah.
Coming out of high school.
Gotcha.
Right? Because I had the ability to go in, beat everyone around me, and get to the top quickly.
Nice.
And because I was younger and I couldn't control my cockiness, it was displayed.
True.
And the minute things didn't go my way, guess what I did? Gave him the middle finger.
Yeah.
Right?
Little rebel without a cause action.
Either change it to suit me,
Right.
or I'm out. Right?
Yeah.
And so I went from, I was this talented guy that had this talent and this drive to want to win, but I couldn't harness it yet. Right?
Sure.
And what actually happened was I was still in South Africa, and I changed multiple jobs many times, and I flew back to Durban, where I initially grew up, and I started selling timeshare there right out of school, pretty much, and I was very good at it pretty quickly, right? I was making more money than I needed to at that age, flying around the country at the age of 20,
Yeah.
and my girlfriend, and living in resorts and just
Right.
going crazy, right? And I went back to this area, and the guys that I see, because I left because I told them when they open up the next office, I want to be the boss.
Sure.
They're not going to let a 20-year-old punk. He's just got too much to learn. Even though you're good at selling, you can't be that leader yet,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't grasp that at that age, right? But a couple of years later, I flew back to that area, and all the people that I absolutely dominated in sales were all running their own office, making a killing. And it's sort of like it's in that moment where you're like,
Come on, man. Yeah.
come on, buddy.
Yeah.
Stop your shit.
No doubt.
Get in the zone here. It doesn't matter how good you are unless you can. And a lot of people that know me today, I talk about 3 words: stay the course, stay the darn course, stay the course. That's for the dawn. But you get my point.
You bet.
So the only way we're going to get great at anything is to stay the darn course.
Yeah.
Right. And I realized that in that moment, and I reflected on it. So when I came to the States, as a matter of fact, I'd been working with the organization for about a year and a half. I went from trainer to salesperson to sales manager to general manager to district VP in 13 months. Wow. Fastest promoted ever in the company to the VP position.
Nice.
Right? I was a VP for 11 months, and my cockiness caught up with me.
Oh.
And I did some shit, and I was rude to the owner, and I shouldn't have. I called him out on a phone call, and that was just terrible. I shouldn't have done that. And I found myself demoted back to sales counselor.
Hot damn.
Yep. And at that moment, most people probably would have quit. But I got on the phone with him, and I apologized, and I also said, listen, you can make me the janitor, and I'm not leaving.
Good for you.
Right?
Yeah.
So he shipped me to another part of the country as a salesperson again, right? And then I had to work my way back up again. But I guess, once again, that thing was in me. You can't keep moving.
Yeah.
You can't keep moving. You know, get your roots in and grow.
When did that stay the course mantra or motto really take root? Once you were here?
Yeah.
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 Once you had learned a couple of those tough lessons about, man, my arrogance got the best of me and cost me a good opportunity?
Well, yeah, a lot of good opportunities. And not only that, you know, I'd been through so much crap coming out of the military and fighting and bars and just being a young, stupid idiot, right? That when I came here, I truly had a clean slate.
Sure.
And I had no negative influences. You know, because when I was young, I did some drugs and some stuff, and you know, and when I came here, and I haven't touched one in well over 23 years, right? I'd stopped shortly before I left there, but probably a year or two. But I had this fresh start.
Sure.
And I'd had a lot of lessons already, so I had this opportunity to improve. But you know, as I got some success, you know, that cockiness reared its head again and got in the way. So I had to get chopped down at the knees a little bit, just to say, hey, buddy, you know, get your shit together.
What is the true difference in your mind between confidence, knowing I can do this job, and that arrogant, cocky line where where confidence steps over that line? What's the difference there? Is it that confidence is kind of just quiet and it's from within, and maybe the arrogance and the cockiness is more something that's put on from the outside? Or what do you think there?
I think the cockiness and the arrogance comes from being too self-absorbed and not caring about other people.
Too much about me.
The I.
Gotcha.
Right? And when you're still dealing with that I so much, you know, that's going to come out in what you do.
Sure.
Right? And you'll see it, you know, as people are successful and they keep putting themselves on the pedestal and they're still not putting their people on the pedestal instead of themselves, then, you know, you'll see that lead to some complications. And, you know, in a lot of the conferences and stuff that we go to now, where a lot of people ask me that question, they're like, how do you get to build a team that you've built? How are you doing this? And you got to take the I out of it.
Yeah. So it's more your goal every day, and your focus is on what can I do to make this new cat who just joined my team as successful as possible.
Sure. Listen, let's not lie to ourselves. We're all squirrels chasing a nut, meaning we want to do well for ourselves, and we want to provide for our own family, and we want to do these things. So there's still that level of, hey, I've got to take care of me, specifically when you come from an environment where there's no safety net. There's no safety net for me. You know, no one's going to save me, and there's you know, that's just the way it is. That's how it's always been, right?
Sure.
And I'll preface this too. There's no, I think when people have kids, there's no like rule book that gets handed to you that says, hey, here's exactly how you do it.
Right.
I think every parent out there, based on their circumstances, does the best that they can and feel that they can.
For sure.
And some of them make mistakes. Some of them make more than others. Some of them make less. But, you know, that's just how they grow too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, parents grow. I'm the oldest of 4, and the way things were done when I was, you know, the one and only were much different than the way they were done when my baby sister, the 4th, came along.
Oh, absolutely.
Parents grow. We're all human. What were some things about corporate America that really burned you, that you really, really disliked, that maybe even were the impetus for at the end you going off in your own direction?
Is there a disclaimer on the video that pops up that says,
hey, nobody watches this shit, bro.
yeah.
You don't have to get specific.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, hey, there's a lot of good lessons that I got from having to stay contained. You know, I say it to my brother today. I said, Davey, you got all the talent in the world, but you lack discipline. You need someone to put their finger on you and stay on you.
Is he younger
He's
than
older.
you? Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Stay on you until you develop those darn disciplines. And until then, it's like I say to most people, you don't have money problems. You got choice and decision problems.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Right.
And when you start making better choices, you're going to find you got less other problems. And when you got less other problems, your head's more clear to get focused on the things you need to be focused on. But the problem is most people without money seem to be riddled with problems, not just money problems, meaning relationship problems, family problems, just problems gravitate to them. But that gravitation is from actions that we didn't see. Actions that have led to these problems. So those are just choices and decisions. And once we can get ourselves to make better choices consistently, then we free up our mind mentally to make even better choices. But if you're in a shitstorm all the time, you're always going to make bad choices because you're making another bad choice to get out of that shitstorm, and then another bad choice to get out of that shitstorm. And so it's this ripple effect that
Absolutely.
you just can't seem to get out of. Right?
That another $100,000 isn't going to solve.
It's not a money problem.
It's
you could
not.
throw as much money at it as you
Yeah.
want, and they're going to find themselves back in the same position. It's a bottomless money pit. It never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, it's a good point, and it repeats itself.
It
You
does.
You see it in people, and you you can try to speak into their life or help them or show them that, hey, man, like that was really, let's do that different. Let's do this different next time.
Yeah.
But then if it keeps repeating itself, it's at a certain point people have to make their own decisions for themselves of how they're going to live their lives.
Well, they hear you and they believe it and they know they need to, but as they start doing that, some of the shit happens here, and then it's like, oh shit, and then it's like, ah shit, put this on hold, and it just you never get out of it.
Yeah.
And I know this because as a kid I was there,
Yeah.
and I did it.
Just got your head on a swivel, and you're living kind of a reactionary life, right? Whatever's coming at you is
Yeah.
getting your attention instead of trying to hone in and be intentional about your day.
Well, the problem is when you try to get out of this shit, you pull some other shit,
Right.
and then that shit catches up with you somewhere. And so
Lots of shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, we're using so much shit.
Oh,
But,
it is what it is.
but it's like I've always said, and I actually talk about this a lot in business, and this is part of building a really good team is helping people in their personal lives. And I don't mean going home and coaching, my husband and wife how to get on. I just mean helping them make better choices and getting them to think, maybe plan for retirement, maybe do all these things, and more importantly, lead by an example that they would want to become, right?
Sure.
Because we say, what, skill set and character? People choose to follow you for skill set and character. Character, you're a good guy. You got good character. I can trust you, right? Skill set, you got these skills. When I sit and talk to you, I'm like, I want those skills. Like, I want to be like that, right? But they go hand in hand because if you have the skills and not the character, then you're a shady sales guy, right?
Yeah.
And if you've got the character and no skills, then you're really just a good guy to go and have a beer with,
Yeah.
right?
You need them both.
Yeah, you do. And they go hand in hand,
They do.
right? What was my point? Where was I going with this?
Well, we were just talking about Well, we had started talking about what did you hate about corporate America.
Yeah, we went on a tangent.
And then we kind of went on a tangent. But we're talking about people helping people learn how to make better choices.
Yeah.
And you're saying skills and character.
Well,
Leading by example.
there's no such thing as business problems, just personal problems that roll into the business. Mm-hmm. You're shitty at home, you're shitty at work. You got no discipline at home, you got no discipline at work. You've heard like the push cart theory and the make your bed theory.
Yep.
And all these things that I think about all the time, right?
You
When
do
you're
that? You make your bed every morning?
I don't,
Yeah.
but my wife does.
There you go.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
Right? But it gets done.
Gets done.
And at the end of the day, it's like being in a public place, right? And you throw something in the trash and you miss.
Right?
Do you leave it or do you pick it up?
Let's pick that up.
You pick it up, right?
Yeah.
Because, if, like I said, you're a shitty person in private, you're a shitty person in public. Mm-hmm. You can't control all the stuff at home. You're not going to control it at work.
Sure.
Right? I challenged our group recently. I said, are you leading 2 lives? And then I said, are you maybe leading 3? A life at work, a life at home, and a life in the dark when no one's watching. What are you up to when no one's watching? Do you put on a show to your family that you work hard, but you don't?
Yeah.
And then you come to work and you're in a leadership role and you're pretending to be this leader of men. But you're never going to be a good leader of men if you can't even lead your own family.
Right.
How does the expression go? You can't manage my checkbook until you can manage your own,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah. Isn't that what makes most of us so upset with the way our government runs things?
Tell me about it.
Give me all your money. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do with it. Okay. We need more money
Yeah.
because we wasted all that money. Huh. Yeah. It's not how it works in business. You hire me to build you a house. You give me 50% up front. You come back in 6 months, nothing's done, and I tell you I need that 50% again. You're not giving me that 50% again.
Yeah.
But we do that with government.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, plus the potential tax hike, specifically for those that are working hard,
Right.
is concerning.
And creating wealth and opportunity for others.
Sure.
Those people. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Are you a man of faith?
I am.
Yeah.
I know I stalled on it, but I've been
Who gives a damn about stalling on it?
I've been married before, and
Yeah.
and before my current wife.
Me too.
And
Congrats. Welcome
yeah.
to the club.
Thank you. And her dad was a pastor.
Gotcha.
He oversaw like 60 odd churches.
Oh, wow.
So I used to volunteer at the church, and we used to have Bible study evenings at our house, and we did all of that, and I think it's great. I'm not sure that I want to do it every week. And
Sure, but maybe some of the principles that you teach your people, the last shall be first, the first shall be last, lead by example, serve, the greatest of these is love. Those are all faith-based,
no doubt. Yeah.
terms and philosophies that work.
Yeah.
They're proven to work. It doesn't really matter what your denomination is or where you are at exactly 11 a.m. on Sunday.
Sure.
To be honest with you, there's a lot of people in church at 11 a.m. on Sunday who aren't living any of those philosophies.
I know a lot of people in church on a Sunday that are in the bar right afterwards, getting drunk, and just like, well, it's all cool. I'll just go back next Sunday and ask for forgiveness, right? Not sure it really works like that. I know you can be forgiven, but if you intentionally, saying, screw it, I'm just going to do what I want, I'll go back, and that's a true intention, I'm not sure how that works.
Well, I think the word repent in the Bible, when it's translated in Greek or Hebrew, means to turn 180 degrees.
Sure.
So if I do something and I say, I'm sorry for that, whoever your higher power is, you turn the opposite way and you go in the opposite direction. We talked a little bit about it. Does your ambition and your drive to always be your best push people away? Do you find that that's a pretty good litmus test to you your ambition, if your drive is pushing someone away that maybe they're not the type of person that you even want in your life to begin with.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because I think everyone's at different levels in their life, and therefore, and I share this with my leaders sometimes, because sometimes they're telling me how they're so frustrated
Sure.
with their people.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, if they thought like you, they wouldn't need you.
Right.
They're just not there yet. So what we got to do is, depending on what level we're dealing with, we've got to take into consideration that they may have some growing to do.
Sure.
Right? So we've got to nudge them as hopefully we were nudged.
Yep.
Maybe ours was a little more forceful, but yeah, nudging is nudging.
Yes.
Rugby
Rugby players, we don't take subtleties real well.
No.
It's got to be right between the eyes, brother. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, a lot of people, even when I talk to them and stuff, or that they'll tell someone else afterwards, they'll say, that guy's intense. And I don't think the intensity is really that I'm intense. I actually think it's because I generally look people in the eyes most of the time.
Yeah.
And people are very uncomfortable
It's
with
weird,
that.
is it not?
They're so uncomfortable with
But
it.
that's a really good sales technique, eye contact.
Right.
So, I mean, you learned that obviously when you were younger, when you're selling timeshares.
I don't know what it is, but at a young age, something that bugged the hell out of me was when I shook someone's hand. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this. Someone grabs your hand and they're like, hey.
Yeah.
And they don't look at you.
I can't stand
I can't stand
shit,
that.
man.
Like, specifically
What
when
was the point of that
Yeah,
right there? We
yeah.
just wasted that time.
Well,
I
that's-
might have gotten COVID and
Well-
you didn't even look me in the damn eye.
Well, it's a formality.
Yes.
Right? They're doing it because they
Especially
think that's
here.
what we're supposed to do,
Right.
right? Bugs the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people will introduce me to someone and I'll shake their hand and they won't look at me. And then like an hour later, someone will say, hey, so how'd you like Jimmy? I'm like, I didn't. And they're like, why not?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. But it's probably because they didn't look at me.
Sure.
And sometimes I think when someone doesn't look at you, and maybe I'm a little too old school on this, maybe the thought process is that they're hiding something.
Well, the eyes are the window to the soul, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
if someone won't look in your eyes and they're shifting around, and what are you so uncomfortable about?
That's right. Yeah.
Because whether you're a person of faith or not, we all have a conscience.
Sure.
Well, most of us, unless you're a sociopathic narcissist, you probably have a conscience, which means if you're doing something wrong, you know it. Dogs even know when they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, of course
And
they
they
do.
won't look at it. They're
Well, they know when you're shifty too.
shoot, yeah.
Dogs can pick up on
We
that.
just had big time dog trainer on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'll introduce you sometimes. Dude's he's amazing. Teaches these military and police dogs and has since he was 5-6 years old. Grew up doing it. Czechoslovakian guy. Crazy. Yeah, dogs, they pick up on character fast.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're first dating, the best thing to do is bring your dog around that special guy
Special
or gal
person.
and just
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if you have kids and you got your daughter and you're like, buddy, tell me what you think.
Yeah. See what the old prom date, what's this guy all about? Absolutely.
So coming back to the question, corporate America,
And how long did you work in corporate America?
I was with them for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think I stayed long enough to try and get what I wanted. But corporate America is filled with politics in the aspect of there's people above you and next to you that may say and do things because they don't want to see you elevate into that capacity, right? So you find that in a lot of cases when you're a person that's a little more expressive and filled with all these ideas that people don't like it. So you somewhat get stifled a little bit, right? And I felt like that was the area that I was fighting all the time. Right. One of the owners, who I have just so much respect for, was really the one that helped me move through the ranks over the years. But, being at the top all the time, you miss a lot of the minutia that takes place in between simply because a lot of people shield as the owner, stuff gets shielded, right? Maybe sometimes not intentionally, but there's channels of communication,
Sure.
and there's hierarchies for a reason, and not everything gets all the way to where it could, right? It'll get stifled along the way. So I think, while there were a lot of lessons, the freedom of expression and the freedom of being able to truly have, but I see the other side too, right? Because when an organization's that big, you can't just let everyone run their own play. You can't just let everyone run, because that becomes too risky.
Right.
Right. But I think, the ability to have more time. A lot of people say to me, don't you make enough money? Why are you still driving hard? And I'm like, it's not about the money. It's about waking up and being the best person I can be each day. Whether you got $1,000 in your account or $1 million in your account, you're still a grown human being that can wake up, put in a good day's work, put forth good effort, be a good person. Does that now mean that you're being greedy? No. But for me, moving away from corporate America has given me so much freedom. Freedom to say to my wife, hey, let's go away this weekend. Freedom to, work extra hard and extra late some days, and maybe some days chill a little bit. And to me, that freedom has probably been better than the money.
Gotcha. Is it hard for you to relax, to unwind when it's time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's
that
not in my nature.
Is that a decision you make each morning of each vacation of, okay, this is family time. I'm going to concentrate and put into this family time what I put in when it's time to work hard?
Sure. And I talk about this a lot too. Talk about a lot of things. And this is part of the coaching that I go through.
The question is, do people listen?
Yeah. I think they do.
I think they do.
Yeah. So through the corporate America days, right? You get this kid. He's running a store, and he's doing well. And then all of a sudden, his wife falls pregnant. And then all of a sudden, he's quitting, and he's like, I can't work all these hours and do this job and bring up a family.
Sure.
And the first thing I used to say to them is, I got a question for you. If you were exceeding quota the last 6 months in a row, getting bonus every single month, in the light of having a kid, do you think you'd still be leaving?
Yeah, probably not.
And most of the time the answer is no.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so it's actually not because you're having a child. You're just using having a child as your excuse for exiting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, where was I going with this?
Well, we were just talking about, we're still kind of on that. Well, you were talking about getting time back. And then I said, because the unwinding for me, right, the downtime, holidays, vacations, I can't, it's very hard for me as well.
I get it. So here's where I was going. So, a baby has an attention span of what?
I don't know. Short.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Right.
2 minutes. Right. So going home and spending hours and hours, or being at home on a Sunday and watching football all day, clicking the channel, that's not family time. So I talk about it on vacations, and I talk about family time. For example, when I got married to my wife, I said, you have me Sundays. I'm not going to pick up a hobby on Sundays. I'm not going to watch TV on Sundays. Well, we're going to do whatever you want. As long as, when I'm working in the week, there's no, when you're going to be home.
Sure.
Right? See, because the problem is, a lot of people stay away at work a lot, and then when they get home, the little time, is not impactful.
Sure.
So it's not necessarily about the amount of time. People are confused. It's not the amount of time. It's about making the time that you do allocate impactful, right? Like vacations. Some people want to have these long weekends and vacations all the time.
Right.
But it's really just a bunch of sitting around and not doing anything impactful.
Yeah.
Why don't you rather save your money all year long and go on one vacation for 2 weeks
Right.
or a week and do something explosive,
Yeah.
something so highly memorable. You see, because if you spend money all year long on stuff, then you look at people that hold those kind of vacations and you say, what? Must be nice.
Yeah.
Or wish I could afford that.
Your favorite saying.
Yeah,
Must
it is
be
one of my
nice.
favorite
Yeah.
sayings. Yeah, right. But no, wait a minute. If you had some discipline and you started realizing the benefit of making things impactful,
Right.
then you don't have to spend all this time, which, in my opinion, specifically for a lot of men, that internally starts becoming prison time, and that's why they start spending more time at work, supposedly.
Right.
Right? It's because it's you want to get away from that
Sure.
because it's become so numb and boring
Yeah.
because you're not being a man and making it impactful.
Yeah. Putting into it. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it is true, no matter what walk of life or what lifestyle, that you do get out what you put in. I don't care if it's the gym, the dinner table. It applies everywhere. We're getting out of this what we put in. We're chopping it up pretty
Sure.
good here. We just came in here and for 20 minutes said, oh yeah, fucking A, and then we were out. We wouldn't get anywhere.
Sure.
But we're not doing that because we value each other's time. I think that it comes down sometimes to the fact that people are just in such a reactionary mindset about life. It's what's coming at me instead of this is my trail. I'm blazing this trail. Come hell or high water, I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to veer away.
Yeah.
And if that's time with the family, then let's make this some badass time with the family.
Yeah.
And if it's time to work, let's go to work. Let me ask you something. When you told your wife, how long have you been married?
3.5 years.
Yeah, congrats.
We've been together 7 or 8,
Right on.
somewhere there.
When you said, "Hey,
I'll be in trouble for the 7 or 8. No, I'm just kidding.
eight,
Yeah,
just round up.
8.
Always round up." When you said, "Hey, you got me on Sundays," was that a lesson you learned from previous relationships? That, hey, I'm going to set some clear boundaries here, so you know what to expect from me. I know what to expect from you. That way, we've got smooth sailing. Or was that just something you'd always done?
No, it's something that you learn through relationships where you find that you are getting into arguments with people that are saying that you eat, live, and breathe work, and you don't care about this and you don't care about that, right? So then, it's at some point you can, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You start saying to yourself, okay, well, how do I still put in good effort? And I'll give you a quick example. So when we first started dating and we went on vacations, I would every morning get on my laptop and start working. And that can become a problem,
Sure.
right? But here's the way I think of it. What if I did this? What if we get to go on a lot of vacations? We get to go different places around the world, have a really good time, do what we want, not be stressed about finances, right? But I get to work for 2 hours every morning, and then once that work's done, the only thing I'll deal with is a potential phone call or a text here and there throughout the day, but we will go do activities.
Sure.
Is it really that bad of a thing? And have we, and I share this with my guys too, because when you're a business owner, you're a business owner.
Right.
There's not like, hey, let me just turn the switch off.
No.
Let me turn my business off because I'm gone for 5 days.
Could you imagine if you did that, what the 6th day would be like?
I get it, right? but a lot of people have the mentality, don't bother me, I'm on vacation.
Right.
No, you got it all wrong, right? I actually come up with my most creative thinking on vacation because there's no distractions.
Sure. Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I remember one time we went into Mexico, I think, and we got this little spot right on the beach, and we had our own little pool. in front of the beach, and I got this routine. I'd get up in the morning, I'd jump in the pool with my laptop on the edge. My wife would order some coffee and breakfast. We'd wait for it. I'd do some work. I'd think a lot, all the rest of it. I'd jump out. We'd have breakfast, do whatever. Then, she takes some time to get ready. We're going to have activities that day.
Sure.
Takes me 3 seconds. Okay. I jump back in the pool, get back to work. Maybe it takes her an hour or two. That's exaggerating. But you get the point.
You bet.
I can get that stuff out of the way. So my theory is, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to lead and it's not just about money, it's about experiences and how we feel and stress relief, right? Because when you're always worried about money, you don't make good decisions anymore, right? And it takes time to get there, no doubt. But what would you prefer? Would you prefer to have me for every second of the vacation? And we only get to do them very rarely, probably not in all these nice places and all these things. And we'll tone it right down. But you can have me every second on that. Which would you prefer?
Yeah, not that.
And I remember she's like, hell, absolutely. Now she even tells her friends. She's like, no, he loves to get some work out of the way in the mornings, and then we enjoy the day.
Sure.
She's actually excited about it because she knows that we're driving our life.
You bet.
Right?
Yeah, you're building your thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, I need to make another dollar, so I need to work.
Right.
It's like, no, my life and our growth and our business all has value.
You bet.
And I can create time for all of those, and I can be impactful in all of those if I choose.
Sure.
Nothing has to truly become a red-headed stepchild as long as I prioritize correctly.
Yeah. When you decided to take the entrepreneurial route, and you decided to get into this storm restoration business that you're in now, were you immediately more excited every morning you woke up than you had been for the 20 years of mornings previously? Or there's some excitement there, maybe getting promotions and climbing the corporate ladder and all of that, or was it just different altogether, switching gears?
When you were younger, you had different girlfriends, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Allegedly.
Obviously not at the same time, but maybe you did.
Hopefully they don't know, but yeah.
When you started with the new one, were you excited?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think anything new can be exciting, specifically something for yourself. Here's the crazy part. When we started it, it was really, I was still at L.A. As a matter of fact, I've only been gone for 2 years, November 17th. And there was actually never an intention to leave.
Interesting.
There
was going to be more of a side hustle type thing?
No, I actually had the mindset. I'd sold myself on the fact that there's a lot of CEOs out there and people that run multiple businesses.
Sure.
But I hadn't quite grasped the fact that maybe something's going to get neglected as much, right?
Right.
And so there was never really that intention. It actually just happened, meaning it was initially, my partner Neil, he was going to start it full time. I was going to run the office and everything in the back end, and that's what I did. And I worked evenings and weekends and Sundays and to try and build it. But it just kept on growing, and it just got to a point where it didn't make any sense to still be allocating 8, 10, 12 hours a day to my primary function when my part-time function was generating 2 to 3 times the income.
Sure. It's taking off.
At some point, you're like, life won't change at all. As a matter of fact, life will probably improve. Not because that's bad, just because now you have more freedom to come and go and do what you want.
You bought your time back too, like you said, your freedom.
That's what I was more after than anything else. I'll give you an interesting story. My mom passed not too long ago.
Ah, my condolences.
A couple of years back, and 3 years ago, actually. And it was my last year at LA Fitness, and it's the first time I said it. I was trying not to.
Maybe we can bleep that out.
Yeah. It was my first, my last year that I was there, and I'd called the COO and said to him, hey, in the health club business, after December 25th, there's no vacations where I was for the first 90 days. Because it's the best time of the year.
You
It's
bet.
the busiest time.
Right.
We don't want people on vacation, right?
That's right.
So, I'd been here for over 20 years, and I hadn't spent Christmas with my mom for over 20 years. And I called him up, and I said, I've been here, at that time, it was just under 20 years. I said, I've been here almost 20 years. Is there a possibility that I'd be able to spend this Christmas with my mom? And he said, no can do. If I make an exception for you, I have to make an exception for others. And the others haven't been here 20 years, and they're not in my capacity.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, is there any way I could go spend this Christmas with my mom?
Right.
And he said, no. And I went out 2 weeks earlier, and we still went out there, and I saw her and everything. But she passed not too long after that. So I never, ever got to spend that Christmas with her, right? So when I talk about freedom, whether that was the wrong or the right move is, everyone can debate it, right? I think a lot of us know the answer, but
Yeah.
but
I'd say so.
but I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying, when I talk about freedom and time, that's what it's done for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
We talked either before we were on camera or after about Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
10,000 hours. How strongly do you subscribe to that theory? 10,000 hours of focused labor, productivity to become an expert in your field, or in my opinion, it's to start to become an expert in your field. Do you track with that? Do you think it's less, more?
He says 10,000 hours to become world class, right?
Yep.
And I mean,
What's that mean?
I
Like
think-
Kobe Bryant?
I think it's relative, and I think it's relative in everything. As you bring up Kobe Bryant, if you bring up golf players, basketball players, football players, I mean, all the greats have put in the time.
Yep.
And likewise in business.
Right.
I think was it Outliers where they even looked at what's his name, Jobs.
Steve Jobs is
Yeah.
in that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so.
And they just looked at, and I think it was that book that went out to prove that a lot of us aren't necessarily smarter than us, that it comes from opportunity over time, starting at a young age, right? Was it Outliers or Blink? I think it was Blink.
Yeah, it might have been Blink, and
Yeah, that
now
was
I'm
Blink.
getting that confused with David and Goliath, which is also an awesome book that
Yeah.
Malcolm wrote about forgiveness. But yeah,
Yeah. And, so a lot of it is that a lot of those guys started, I think John C. Maxwell's got a really good quote where he says, successful people make decisions early on in life, and they spend the rest of their life managing those decisions.
Yeah.
It's just that they made the decision to commit to something a lot earlier and stuck with it. And for that reason, over an extended period of time, they became great.
sure.
So now it's not a perfect science, meaning I stayed somewhere for 20 years and I became really good at it. I was able to come into, it's like the singer, they weren't an overnight success from that one song.
Right.
What about all the shit you didn't see?
Yeah.
Right? Same thing. We've come into this contracting space and we've been able to accelerate really quick. That's not luck. That is a collection of those hours, because really, are we in the roofing business or the people business?
Right.
We're in the people business.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'm just doing what we did here over here.
Yeah. So that I was going to ask you, do you ever look back and go, man, I kind of wish I had started this with Neil 10 years ago? Or do you look at it from the perspective of, hey, everything happens when it's supposed to happen, as long as you are recognizing an opportunity when it presents itself and pouncing on it? What do you think on that?
Yeah, I was very stubborn when I was younger. So, I actually believe, and I say to people, one side of me wishes that I'd maybe walked away sooner.
Sure.
But then there's other side saying to me, maybe I needed more lessons
Yeah.
to make something permanent,
Right.
right? Because you can get some lessons along the way, but not enough, and know what's right and wrong, but it's not permanent yet,
Sure.
right? How does it go?
Yeah, it doesn't lock in.
Yeah, 30 days to create a habit, 90 days to make it permanent.
Yeah.
But I think certain things need years to just get truly ingrained in you, specifically based on your background.
Sure.
Right.
Well, experience is knowledge. Everything else is just information, right? And so you've gone through it. Like Einstein said that. It's so true.
Yeah.
You could read the internet
Yeah.
or travel the world and experience things. From which are you going to actually gain knowledge? Obviously, the experiencing
Right.
of all of those things.
So I am a firm believer that, that maybe it happened at the right time. And,
You bet.
And that I needed some more lessons.
Do you attribute the early success and the success now to all those building blocks and to the network that you've been able to build over the last 20 years? It just kind of all contributes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's everyone's life, right?
You bet.
Well, it's everyone's life as long as they start taking heed to it and making changes.
Yeah, I was going to say, if your last 20 years have been in prison, then no.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. How many productive hours do you have mentally in you in a day? Can you go? I know when I was 25, I literally could sleep for 4 hours, I could still blow and go. I still had some creativity, but now I start running out of energy late in the day.
I got to sleep 8 hours a night.
Yeah.
So regardless of what happens in between that, because I got a bad back. So my theory is if I don't get a good night's rest, I'm going to be in more pain tomorrow,
Right.
which means I'm not going to function right. So I got to get my rest.
Sure.
So, but maybe another way to explain that is when I was younger, I always, when you're poor and and I'm not rich, but you get the point. When you're in poverty or when you're poor, you always want things because you can't have them and you don't have them, right? But absolutely, positively, everything in life can become boring if you do too much of it.
Yeah. Even pizza.
Right? Yeah. Just like vacations. Those vacations, at some point, you can say. I mean, you can only go on so many vacations,
right?
And it actually starts getting boring.
You bet.
It's true. I know because I've tried to do it because I couldn't for so long that when I was able to, then I attacked it, and then pretty quickly I was like, even this can get somewhat boring.
A little bland.
Well, to where I'm at a point now where I actually don't like it going away for a long time.
Right.
I'd rather just take more breaks, shorter, make them impactful.
Sure.
And come back. Because you'll find past a couple certain days, you start looking at what are we going to do today?
Yeah.
Once we get to that point,
may
may
as well head back.
May as well head back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So rather just make them short, impactful, and come back. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think I'm the personality or the kind of person, because I've been on the move for so many years, that I get, and maybe you're the same, I think you were trying to allude to that earlier, is I can get bored quickly.
Yeah.
And too much time off, I get antsy.
It's competition for me, too. It's very hard for me to not be doing something competitive.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
Yeah. So it's not like you can play tackle football with your significant other on the beach, right? It's not the way it works when you're having quality time. That work for me, once rugby was over, work started to fulfill that competitive fire, right? It was always, when you're in contracting, you're winning or you're losing every day.
Yeah.
So it's an addiction. Being super uber competitive is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough to temper that. Is it hard for you to live a balanced life? Are you mindful of that? Do you meditate? Do you do things like that to try to help balance yourself out?
I don't meditate, but I do exercise. So obviously that's something that's important at the start of every day to, just get the mind right and, stay healthy. And I got to look after my back too. So, and it promotes better choices, clearer mind.
You
You know,
bet.
you're going out drinking. I mean, I started actually at a younger age. I used to joke about this, but even going out, I got to a point where I said, okay, I'm not going to drink in the week, and I'm not going to go out in the week, and I'm just going to do it all on a Saturday night. And sometimes I didn't sleep Saturday night. It's
Sure.
Sunday morning, 7 a.m., and I'm getting home.
Right.
But then I'm resting for the day so I can be ready for Monday, and I get moving again. I used to joke and say, when I was single, ladies wanted to go out. They call me up, let's go to a movie in the week or whatever it is. I'd be like, no, you got to wait till Saturday. And if you don't want to wait, then someone else will. And that's the way it is, right? I think that's, was that chapter 17?
Supreme confidence right there.
48 laws of power.
Yeah.
Create value through scarcity.
Yeah,
Remember that?
scarcity.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, there's a little bit of shade in that book,
Yeah.
but it's all on point.
Yeah.
It is. It's all on point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is, but yeah, I mean, so I don't think, I mean, you even look at it, and I can't think of any of the illustrations, but a lot of these highly successful people, and I'm not there yet, but I plan to be there, have tried to retire,
Yeah.
and they go a little crazy
Yeah.
because they're just so used to, for so long, being busy, and in some cases, is it being busy and winning, or at some point once you've won enough long enough, is it coming down to relevance?
Right.
Am
I still relevant? Yeah. Do I matter? Does my team need me?
Am I making a change?
Right.
Like, am I still impactful in this world, or is this retirement and now I carry no value? Because remember, when you've this is going to sound bad. A stripper is famous in the club,
Right.
on the stage.
Yes.
Outside, they're not.
Right.
They don't get the attention. They don't.
True.
These kind of things that can play a mental game, right?
For sure.
Leaving that, going in and making a couple of grand in a day, and then going to work an hourly somewhere, and then you get that paycheck at the end of 2 weeks, and it's like,
Yeah.
shit, this ain't relevant.
That doesn't stack up.
This sucks.
No
right?
doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it is. Maybe it's that you've been so relevant for so long and mattered and made change and doing all these kind of things that if you were to retire and just stop, is it that it's this mental relevance game? I don't know.
How important is personal enrichment to you? If you just look at your Instagram feed, it's all personal enrichment type. It's quotes, it's sayings, it's ethoses, it's mottos, mantras. Where does that come from?
Reading over time, collection over time, what's worked for me, things that make me think, that get me going. Sometimes the smallest thing can make the biggest difference in someone's life, and sometimes you've just got to put that out there, and it just takes that one person to read it that says, you know what, that's right.
It's true.
So while I don't put it out there because I think I'm the leading authority in it, right? I put it out there because that stuff resonates with me.
Yeah.
And if it resonates with me, maybe there's someone else out there that could be scrolling that could see it, and it could actually make an impact or a difference. Or maybe someone sees it, starts following me, starts seeing more and more and more, and it starts influencing their thinking.
Sure.
Right? I didn't have a whole lot of influencers or role models in my life. Right? So I just had to truck through it. And figure it out, right? And then, there is one guy at LA Fitness that I've sort of worked with all these years.
You've mentioned
that has
him.
helped me.
Yeah. You still reach out to him for direction and consider him a mentor still?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably still talk twice a week.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How important do you think that is for young entrepreneurs? Find someone, seek them out if you like their skill set and their character, and chase them down. Say, hey man, I want to learn everything that you know. Is that something you encourage? I encourage my guys. Hey, you see somebody who's living their life the way you want to live your life? Don't let the game come to you, man. press in. Hey,
Yeah.
can I come mow your lawn and then listen to you on the phone for 2 hours this afternoon?
Sure.
Hey, can I buy you coffee and listen to you talk to your people? You know, that type of thing.
Yeah. So, there's private time and there's business time and then there's old time. And I think everything's old time as long as you create good balance between both. For example, I spent Sunday with one of my guys and his wife, and we went down to JFK and because that was the day.
Kennedy Day, yeah.
And it was actually more of his passion of what he follows, and he follows the history, and he's excited about it. And he's not from Dallas. He'd never been to that spot, so this was a great day. I went and spent that time with him. I had another leader of mine that we've now got to a point where we're penciling in lunch once a week because we're growing. So now there's getting to be slightly less touch because we're all getting so busy and doing so many things. So now we're calendaring everything. Not really a word, but
it is in our world.
Yeah, everything's going in there, and so about creating that little moment to help influence their lives and being a little more conscious of it, because I don't think there were many people as conscious of it when I was younger, right? So I think, the whole coach thing. I've no plan in ever going in that direction. A lot of people are like, "Hey, you should start coaching people." Well, I got 100 guys to coach.
Yeah.
I don't need to go find something else to satisfy my time with and these kind of things. But I do believe in the coach thing in the aspect, or the mentor thing in the aspect of even talented people need coaches.
You bet. Tom Brady.
All of them.
Yeah.
They still need someone to sort of keep it where it needs to be. So I'm a firm believer of, hey, if you've got someone that you think is going to keep you where you need to be or get you down a path that you need to go, by all means. Yeah.
How important is it to you connecting with your leaders that way, outside of the work sphere, on some more of a personal level in that off time, downtime?
Yeah.
Well, shoot, if you went yesterday, that was
Sunday.
I mean, that's supposed to be your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife was with me. I told her, I said, hey, we're going to go meet Tom and his wife, and he wants to go to the JFK. She says, yeah, we don't have any plans, no problem.
Awesome.
She is, we're both growing in this, right? Where it's, yes, one thing in our core values at the business, one of them is others first, right? And as long as we always understand and think that and know that, whether that's a customer, whether it's employees, whether, if we put them first, we'll always be taken care of.
Sure.
Right. And I think spending that time with them is, 3 Fridays ago, I had another leader of mine and his wife at my house, and I broke down the financials and every little number from property taxes to PMI to homeowners insurance to you name it, helping him make an educated decision on the purchase of his first home.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Right.
That's awesome.
And then I have guys come in and talk about retirement and SIP accounts and these, because I'm nudging these guys to do all these things.
You help them set up LLCs and things like that for
all that
themselves
stuff.
too?
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
So we, once again, it's not just, hey, get to work, be a good soldier and do the work.
Right.
It's how do we help you? No one ever helped me do those things. Mm-hmm. So how do I help you make smart choices and not make the same mistakes that I did as I bought? It may sound silly, but I think a lot of people forget the purchase of their first home, in that back in the day, you didn't think, okay, wait a minute, this new builder didn't, there was no sprinkler system, and now you're walking around spraying shit, or you got to fork out a couple of grand to put in a sprinkler system, or a garage door opener, or blinds. Some of these homes are brand new; they come with nothing.
Yeah.
What's the cost of blinds going to cost?
Yeah, it depends. Some of those houses, it's 10 grand.
I urge everyone to get 20% deposit if they can.
Sure.
Rather don't buy now, rather wait.
Yeah.
Because you avoid the property mortgage insurance, right? And that's a sham.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's an absolute sham.
No doubt.
You're paying to protect the mortgage company's loan to you.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, it's not a wise financial move.
No, it's not.
No.
Hey, I did it on my first home, but that's how I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one of those learning experiences. Yeah. What's a bucket list item that you've got, something that you want to accomplish with your business now that you've got your own deal going, that you've identified that you want to chase down? Is there a benchmark, a goal, that something, hey man, I want to accomplish this? Do you want to make it on like an awards list, a top 100 list, or is it more, I want this many highly successful people on my team? Is there something you can identify as, hey, when I hit that, I'm of course gonna have another one after that, but that's something I really want to accomplish?
Yeah, so there's quite a few, and obviously in business you have a financial goal that you want to get to, right? And sometimes when you say that, people think, oh, there he goes, just cares about the money. But it's going to take X amount of successful people.
Haters gonna hate, bro.
Yeah, it's going to take X amount of successful people to get to that number, right? Which means I'm going to influence X amount of people to get there. 10 states, a specific volume number. Two other things. One is sort of tangible, one's not. We recently created a unit share program where my goal is to tie the people that help us grow the business into the business so that they share in a benefit of that later on.
These are people that like help you recruit talent, or
No. My leaders that work
your
for me.
guys?
Yeah.
And gals. Gotcha.
Yeah. And there isn't a like, hey, if you're with me 3 years and you do this, you get it. Because I'm a firm believer that we talk about a circle of safety within our organization, right? Specifically in our leadership group, right?
Sure.
Almost like in a new relationship. You don't know someone, they don't know you. You don't know if you can trust them. You don't know, you got these insecurities. You know, they go out partying without you, or they cheating on you, or they this or that. There's all these things that go on as younger kids, right? But at some point that you've been together for a while, you'd hope that you've moved away from all those insecurities and you can both be individuals and you can live a happy life together but not owning each other, right?
Right.
Well, I sort of feel the same way in our leadership group, right? We call it the circle of safety, right? That we're now at a point where I can have a discussion with you about results or performance. You're not going to get butt hurt.
Yeah.
You're going to take it personally.
Right.
You're going to do all those things. You're just going to say, look at the facts and say, you know what, you're right. I'm going to get better. I'm going to make these changes, right? And so my thoughts on the tying people in is at some point you know who's in and who's not.
Sure.
And when the time's right, we'll tie those people in. We already tied one person in.
Cool.
And we've created it so that we can tie everyone into the business. And therefore, they also have a vested interest in growing the business.
Sure.
Because the more it grows, the more it's worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And once again, it's not about the money. It's about creating a life and something else towards. I know a lot of people talk about these buckets and these revenue streams. I talk about buckets for retirement.
Right.
What are the buckets that you're creating for retirement? I talk about money allocation, right? Meaning when you get your money, there's a bunch of things that should take place before you spend.
Sure.
You pay the bills, you put money into retirement, you do a couple of things, and what's left. But the more you can create these allocation buckets, the less is left, but none of this money's really used.
Right.
It's allocated. And when it's allocated, you can't spend it.
Right.
Right? And that in itself, creating that allocation process over time, actually makes you feel better about yourself. You have this different level of confidence in you because you know deep down inside you're preparing for your future.
Sure.
You're not just blowing all your money.
Well, that's living intentionally.
Yeah.
Too.
Sure.
That's making a plan and sticking to the plan.
Right.
Which does a lot for peace of mind.
It does. Yeah.
When it's not, I'm just gonna fly by the seat of my pants.
Well, that's
see
stressful.
What happens here. Very.
And I know because I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very stressful.
We all have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money in, making a lot of money, just blow it. It's gone.
Right.
And there's no forward thinking. There's no succession plan. There's none of that stuff. You once you start doing that stuff and you start feeling good about it, you start getting a little different beat in your step,
Sure. Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. It's different
Yeah.
because you're not desperate anymore.
Got a little rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that you and your wife are growing into this and with this building with this company you're building together.
Yeah.
What's that like? You guys work together you're working together, brainstorming, deciding which directions to take, new ideas and things like that.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
She knows nothing about the business.
Not a thing.
No. It's one of the things that I coach my guys on.
Okay.
Specifically them managing their newer guys, is that, well, we can go down a tangent here, but, and if I forget, remind me where we're at.
Okay.
If you want to know how your people feel about you, take their wives to dinner. When they're friendly, what do you think's happening? The information that's being relayed is good.
Right.
But if the information... See, because a lot of people come to work and they say, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir, because you're the boss.
Right.
But
You're signing the checks.
But back at home, what are they saying? Right?
Yeah.
So I've always said, if you're leaving because your wife hates your job, who created that monster?
Yeah,
There's only one person that created that monster.
You.
That's you. Because you went home every day bitching and whining about what happened at work. You turn that shit off, right? It's called, I think Larry Wingett's got a book where he says it's called Work for a Reason. It's called Work for a Reason. Because you show up each day and you get the darn work. It doesn't mean it's going to go perfect. Doesn't mean it's going to go easy.
Right.
No need to go home and bitch and whine. Because what you're really doing is, they don't understand. They love you.
Right.
And when they hear that, like, someone said something to you,
That Linington.
they're like in their head, like,
He's a
that
taskmaster.
guy, he's hurting my baby. Screw that guy, he's a piece of shit, right? And then you come home every day. What'd Kirt say today?
Yeah.
How'd it go with Kirt today?
Right.
You're creating the monster.
Sure.
And every time you give something negative, your monster's getting bigger.
Gotcha.
Right? To the point that you get to a point where you go home every day, and guess what your wife's saying? Screw that place, you're better than that.
Yeah.
You need to go somewhere else.
Start your own thing.
And then all of a sudden your head starts spinning, right?
Right.
Now you're freaking confused, and next thing you know, you're quitting, and you're moving on to the next company.
Jumping around.
Right.
Yeah.
But you created it.
Yeah.
So I listen, I'm sure there's highly successful partnerships and husbands and wives that collaborate and work in a business and all the rest of it. The other beauty about my wife is she doesn't really want to be involved. She wants to do her thing. She's got her own hairdressing thing.
Cool.
She wants to do her own thing, and she's happy doing it, and she loves doing it, and she's been doing it for an extended period of time, and she loves all her clients, and that's what she loves doing.
Right on.
Right? So I just, a lot of times I come home, she says, how was your day? My day was good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
everything's good. If I gotta sit with, if I need to like vent,
Yeah.
I got my VP of sales
Yeah.
who we taught into the business. He's a partner now, and Neil.
Yeah.
We can get in the boardroom and we could figure shit out.
Chop it up and scream and holler about what's pissing you off.
And we actually did that this morning.
It's not take it home.
We went through some stuff, and we and as a matter of fact, I reflected on it and said, hey, we haven't done this in a minute. We probably need to do this more often because we've been so busy. We get in this growth thing, and we move away from some of those things. But the wife thing, I'm sure that could work. I'm sure people can collaborate. It could be successful. But in our dynamic, I'm a firm believer that, hey, I take care of the business. It's called business for a reason. I'll keep it there. And if I do it at home, I'm not at home discussing it.
Right.
Here's the thing. When you come home and you share something negative with your wife, even if it wasn't you, maybe it wasn't the boss, it was someone else that did it to you.
Sure.
Maybe a colleague, right?
Yeah.
here's what I believe. When someone asks me something and I say my day went bad, and they're like, "Oh my God, tell me what it is," right? Yeah. I mean,
Where the fuck did that voice come from?
yeah. Anyway,
Oh, that
hey,
was
listen.
awesome.
So, my wife could kill me for that. But listen. So, when you have to reshare a negative experience, guess what happens to you mentally?
You're doing it all. You're reliving.
You're reliving it.
The whole thing.
You're reliving it.
Yeah.
I don't want to come home and relive negative experiences.
Sure.
See, a lot of people may be watching or whatever this is and listening and saying, but that's simple shit. Yeah, but you make these mistakes every day.
Right.
I know what I'm saying is simple,
Yeah.
but can you practice what I'm saying?
Those little things add up, though, man.
If you could listen to Don Miguel Ruiz,
Yes.
The Four Agreements.
Absolutely, man.
And he talks about being impeccable with your word and the value and how impactful your word is.
Yeah,
Well,
and that's not just not telling lies.
no, that's small stuff.
Right.
I think in the audio, he actually shares an example about someone who's coming out of a class and someone's walking in and they're friends and it's the start of a school semester and there's a new teacher and they ask that person, "Hey, how's the teacher?" And they said something negative about that teacher. Before that person's even met them and walked into the room, they have a negative connotation.
They've already poisoned
They've
the
already
well.
poisoned the well, right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden the guy says something and you're like, I don't know if I like this guy. You know, so this power of this word is so critical and so simple, right? But people can't live by it.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
it's true.
So
It's very easy to gossip. It's very easy to gripe. It's very easy to complain. It's
Yeah.
very easy to dwell on what's going wrong. Is it not?
it is.
Because all you have to do is turn the news on, man, and it's just coming at you 24/7.
It doesn't come on right now.
I like that.
It doesn't come on.
I like that.
stopped. I watched
Good.
the first debate, and I'm like, I can't.
That was a good place to stop.
Hey, I was like, I cannot spend this amount of time listening to this shit
Yeah.
because it's just a show.
Yeah. It's the
all it
WWE
is.
with suits and ties, man.
I mean, it is terrible. So I stopped. We haven't watched it again.
Good for
Because
you.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I know the facts. I've read up on the facts. As a matter of fact, we've met with our accountants discussing the financial potential implications based on this candidate
Sure.
and this candidate. And I got to base it on facts, not on some shit I see on TV, which is all lies anyway. I mean,
yeah.
everyone overpromises and underdelivers
100%.
because they're just trying to get your votes,
Yeah.
right? But coming back to the wife, no. The answer is no.
Right on.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because I don't want.
You both got your own hustle. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to relive experiences, and I don't want to get her emotional about experiences. But not only that, just because I'm at work and maybe myself and someone disagreed on something, and I go home and share it with her, guess what I just did? She now starts to what? Not like this person.
Yeah, and worry.
Right.
Right.
Right. And then guess what happens when we have a social event?
Sure, there's a
My
vibe
wife's not
there.
going to talk to that person.
Yeah, there's a
It's like,
bad
yeah,
vibe.
that guy's why would I do that?
Sure.
I want her to be able to socialize and have fun with everyone.
Sure.
I'm not going to plant poison like he says.
Yeah.
He says black magic, right?
Yes, he does.
In his audio. I'm not going to plant black magic
Right.
into my wife's head. Now, if she meets them and she's hanging out and all the rest of it and she picks up on some stuff, then shame on you, buddy.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
Right.
Right? But I didn't create that.
Yeah.
Right.
When you have those sessions with your partner and with the other guy who you've tied in, is that like an iron sharpens iron
Yes.
type thing? You guys, I mean, we got this problem. Why is this a problem? Well, it's because of some shit you said and this and this and this. Are you?
No, we're not doing that.
Not doing that.
No, we've got that circle of safety is that we're at a point now where we're
Well,
not.
I'm just saying, does it ever get vociferous? Where maybe a voice gets raised, but
It's a
you
big
guys,
word.
yeah, even rugby players use. Hey, you use fastidious, so
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to use vociferous. Where you can chop it up and go back and forth like grown men, but nobody leaves the room going,
Yeah, feelings
I don't
hurt.
think Kirt
No.
likes me anymore.
Listen, I'd be lying to say that it maybe didn't happen in the beginning. Because it did.
Sure.
no doubt. We've had screaming matches. I mean, I remember once I was at home. I was upstairs and I launched my phone straight into the wall.
Yeah.
Half in the wall.
Like a tomahawk?
Yeah. I'm like, I thought I was playing baseball. You know, but no, we've been through it. We've nudged and pushed, and we've pushed each other to the edges, and we've done those kind of things to where this relationship's now at a point where, you know, we've got to respect each other.
Right.
And we got to control ourselves like adults and mature human beings. And if we got to get in a room and talk it out, we got to realize. So we were discussing some process this morning.
Yeah.
And I noticed that some people were getting a little passionate about the process should be this way as opposed to the process being this
Just
way.
a little passionate.
Right.
Yeah.
And I actually stopped everyone and I said, here's what we got to think, guys. What we're dealing with right now is a good problem.
Yeah.
Do you realize we now have a problem based on volume?
That's a good problem.
It's a good problem.
Absolutely.
We're trying to improve our process to facilitate even more volume because we've got this goal in mind, this ending in mind. So everything's got to have this ending in mind on not just keep adding manpower and overhead to facilitate growth, but more streamlining process and systems so we can facilitate and deal with it without dealing with more problems and increasing overhead.
Sure.
Right? And I said, let's take a deep breath here. What we're dealing with here, guys, right now is actually super positive.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great place to be. right?
Absolutely.
So let's just, as we're discussing through this stuff, let's keep in mind that this is actually a very positive conversation.
Sure.
Because we could be having discussions about some serious shit like overhead's too high, bills need to be paid, not enough sales.
Yeah.
We're not talking about
COVID's
that.
killing us. Just whatever.
Well, let's talk about the external world.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we shouldn't.
Maybe that is black magic just in and of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh. Is your conscious decision when a problem or adversity or an obstacle comes at you, when you see that boulder rolling down the hill at you, to say, okay, all right, let's see what you got. Let's make this happen. It's only going to make me stronger. And if that is and I think it is probably, if that is the way you encounter adversity, is that something that was born through and forged in the fires of everything that you went through from being young and growing up the way you did and climbing and always pushing?
Yeah, nudging and redirecting through problems dealing with problems over years has sort of got me to that point. Still not perfect, but yeah, no doubt, absolutely.
Where a problem doesn't just come along and derail your day.
Not anymore.
You see, well, no problem. Well, we're gonna work through this, and actually, we're gonna solve this, and we're gonna be better for it on the other side.
I'll give you a quick example. COVID.
Yeah,
The world was
you're
like...
very intuitive. That's where I was leading you.
Yeah. COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone was like, damn. And I get it. We're truly blessed to have been in an essential business. So I got to put that disclaimer out there.
Right.
But there are a lot of people that were in the essential business that still dealt with far less customers,
For sure.
right? Even when restaurants opened, they had and could only deal with far less customers. So you still have to deal with some level of challenges and adversity to do well through COVID,
Yeah.
right? Unless you own Amazon.
Or Walmart.
Walmart. But then again, it's not all sunshine and roses because they had to figure out how to facilitate that too,
Yep.
right? Those higher volumes.
Absolutely.
And, people just think about the money, but there's a lot that goes into it, right?
For sure.
So the challenge that we were facing is that a large portion of our business is done through referrals and knocks, door knocks, all right? And with COVID, knocking got shut down. Can't show up at someone's door and knock,
Right.
right? So how are you going to keep selling? If you've run out of referrals.
What'd you do?
I went and hired 30 people.
Yeah.
And guess what I said to all my guys? I said, go hire everyone that was in a sales job that got sort of laid off.
Sure.
What was the term? Wasn't laid off. It was
Furloughed.
Furloughed.
Yeah.
I thought there was one other term.
Where they lay you off and still pay you part of what they owe you?
Yeah, something like that. There's another term, but either way. And I said, there's a bunch of talented people sitting at home right now, and they're not going to be able to provide for their family. So here's what we do. We'll go hire all of them. If they got a Rolodex of people they know, they can call them and book inspections. We can get them money. Instead of sitting at home, they can provide for their family.
Sure.
And even when COVID ends, they can go back to their job.
Sure.
This is like, hey, how do we get as many people as possible that can't make money right now? It's a win-win because they got to roll. Think about a car guy selling cars. He's been selling cars for the last 10 years. He's got all these people
Yeah.
that he could call,
You bet.
right? Here's the other thing. I actually did a video on it. I did a video at a home during COVID saying, hey, guys, here we are at so-and-so's property. Beautiful home.
Right.
Right now, what have you done? You've spent a lot of time with the family. You've walked the dogs a gazillion times. Maybe you're getting tired of each other at this point, right? Maybe you need a project to do. Guess what? Let's do your roof.
Let's put a new roof on, man.
Let's spruce up the outside of your house.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, because you're going to be at home, we'll walk you through the entire process as we're installing it.
Beautiful.
And tell you how it's going and show you every step of the way. Give us a call. That's why you have insurance. If it's damaged, we can check it out, and maybe we can get you insurance to replace it so your home's not compromised.
Yeah.
And here's a project for you.
Win-win.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
So we hired up. We probably landed up hiring another 40, 45 guys during COVID, at least in the first 90 days. And almost doubled our sales force
Yeah, it's crazy.
in the face of adversity.
It's amazing.
Because my mindset was, okay, it's coming down the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
How bad it's going to get, we don't know. What do we do in the meantime? How do we work around this?
You bet.
Right? And then we obviously also thought about our existing guys, right? What do we do? Okay, team leads, get in, get on the phones with them and every single one of their customers and see what we can do about understanding their experience, how well they did, and trying to drive some referrals for those guys.
Gotta ask for
through
referrals.
through those times.
It's so important.
Yeah.
People don't, clients, even if they love you, they don't understand the nuts and the bolts. You come at someone and go, man, it was awesome working for you, and I really appreciate your business, but, much like a realtor, I depend on commissions to make my living. Who do you know that I can help?
Sure.
Just that right there opens so many doors, but
Yeah.
you gotta knock if it's going to be opened unto you. Do you find that when you recruit someone that's super talented but has a bad work ethic, that you can teach that work ethic, or is that just almost a fatal flaw? Or does that really come down to the person and their determination and their grit? Hey, I'm going to make these changes to make this work.
Yeah. So we say hire the attitude, teach them the rest.
There you go.
And, inspect and trust and verify.
Right.
But I don't think I'm going to hire you if I understand in the beginning that you're lazy.
Right.
You're not going to turn over a new forest just because it's me. You may for a week or two because it's new and it's exciting, but if it's in you, it's not necessarily in alignment with what we stand for, because what we stand for is we help each other, right? And if you can't even help yourself, you're not going to help someone else.
No doubt.
So you're not going to fall into alignment with us.
Yeah.
Does that mean we've hired perfectly every time? No. But as long as you realize when you've made the mistake, you do something about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You can make mistakes. As long as you fix them quickly.
Yeah. A problem is there to be solved. That's what problems are for.
Well, we say life's filled with situations that become problems depending on how we handle them.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How much you dwell on them. That positive mindset. I mean, is that something that you're just waking up with? Or are there days where you're like, man, I don't know about this, or is it just you're on that track of positivity, come hell or high water,
I'm a human being,
right?
and I think
You're not a
I
machine.
think I'd be lying if I said it was all positive.
Sure.
Right? Who was the actor that passed that was always smiling?
Just recently,
No, 2-3 years ago, world-renowned actor.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams, right? And then when you really start digging in, he was really sad and depressed,
And he had massive brain, Lewy body brain. There's a Netflix crazy documentary about that.
I haven't seen that.
You need to.
Yeah.
I'll text it to you. It's so heartbreaking because he actually wasn't depressed. He had this disease called Lewy body syndrome. It's very, very rare. And it just depleted his brain. And they didn't know what it was until he had passed. And it was by his own hand, but he didn't know what was going on. And his sense of humor was being robbed from him. His intellect was being robbed from him. And it was, he couldn't deal with it. You know, everything that he was as a person and that we all loved was being robbed from him by this disease. It's crazy. But back to positivity.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't, not anymore. I don't ever have the wake up feeling and like, yeah, this is all just rough or anything like that. But I do. I would say. I don't think I have any negativity because I'm so excited about the path that we're on.
Right.
And I think through my life, I'm so used to dealing with challenges that it's just a challenge. It's not. I'll give you a quick example. Probably year 2, my partner, and he knows this. We talk about it. He respects it. I share the story a lot, so it's nothing bad. But one day I'm on the phone with him, and he's screaming because there's this problem, right? Something happened at a house, and it's just he's angry at the sales guy, and maybe the roof wasn't covered, and it's $80,000 damage, whatever it is. This happens to everyone.
Yes, it does.
All roofers, so they're lying.
If it hasn't, it will.
Well, or they lying, but freak happens. There's nothing in the forecast. It happens.
Yeah,
All of a sudden
downbursts.
There's a 5-minute downburst, and that roof's exposed. You would be amazed in a downpour, a strong downpour, how much damage can be created in
crazy.
5 minutes.
It's crazy.
I mean, it is absolutely crazy, right? And he calls me, and he's like, I'm tired of dealing with a shed, and it's this, and it's that, and all the rest of it. I turned around to him and I said, okay, let's shut the doors. He said, excuse me? Let's close the business. That way you won't have to deal with it anymore. He said, I don't want to do that. I said, why not? You're tired of dealing with it.
Right.
He's like, no, I don't want to. I said, no, let's shut it. You won't have to deal with it again. He's like, absolutely not. I said, you got to realize something. The sooner you embrace the problems and realize that you're an owner and that is yours and my responsibility to deal with as owners. It's like the rules of a game. Rules of a rugby game, a football game. Ref blows the whistle, you don't get upset because the ball was knocked forward, and something happens when a ball gets knocked forward.
Scrum it down, baby.
When you understand the rules of the game, then you're not upset every time the ref blows the whistle.
Yeah. You almost expect it at a certain point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what it does is, well, we say leadership is anticipation, the ability to see around corners.
Sure.
And a lot of times we start, and I think Blink spoke about it with Malcolm Gladwell, where he spoke about patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Where he said sometimes in life, you know something's wrong, you don't have proof, but something's given it away.
Yeah.
Could have been a mannerism from someone. It could have been something, but it's patterns because you've dealt with these situations so much in your life that you finally get to a point where you don't have proof, but you know because there's something triggering it in your brain. It's a pattern.
Sure.
Right? And the sooner we can, we find that at some point as we do this for an extended period of time, like you said, sometimes you can anticipate it. You can, and we could start catching them sooner.
You bet.
Right? And we could start shielding it, knowing that something's potentially coming because something's heading in a direction, right? But Yeah, I mean, another great book, Blink.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned several books. You anything that you haven't mentioned that you're reading or that you're on fire for right now? You've mentioned Four Agreements, Blink. I said David and Goliath. We've mentioned Outliers. We mentioned Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. What's another good one that you recommend to burgeoning young bucks out there who want to get their game on?
There's so many out there. I guess
There's a bunch.
It depends where people are at, right?
Sure.
Like a lot of these guys, some older stuff. Kenneth Blanchard, Who Moved My Cheese. Some of this, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
1936. That one. Steve Patrick talks about that one all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he loves that one.
He talks about it all the time. I think Napoleon Hill and his story and the railway lines and all the rest of it. And I think at one point he said he had a guy write down, "I'll be the richest man in the world," and he put a note in his pockets and he said he must read it every day. And he pulled this out every day and he read it. And he says that in the beginning I think that was his 21 Keys to Success. But he said that at the beginning he used to read it but go into a private place because it was embarrassing. He didn't want to pull it out and read something so ridiculous. Right?
Interesting.
But he said at some point along the way, he started reading it and something in him started changing and believing that it could actually potentially happen.
Awesome.
Right? And that's where that mental shift takes place. And once you believe it happens, you can. I mean, for guys that are managing teams that are struggling, I would recommend a very simple book by, I think it's Stephen R. Covey. It's called 13 Fatal Errors That Managers Make.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read it.
I have.
I think it's just a great little handy guide. Just everything.
It's a quick read.
Yeah, everything from being a buddy and not a boss,
right?
Not being a buddy and being a boss, to trying to control results instead of influencing thinking.
Sure.
Which is something we're big on.
Let's trust the process.
Yeah. Instead of just gripping everything and trying to control it, right?
Sure.
Influencing people in a positive way where they can adjust their own thinking.
Right.
Yeah. Teaching someone to fish versus feeding them, same concept,
Yes.
right? Controlling importance of process over profit, and I mean, there's just so many things in the book that are really good. So I think guys that are managing, that's a quick handbook. David Goggins. I mean,
anything that guy writes or says is pretty dynamite.
I mean, there's so much. I mentioned 48 Laws of Power.
Yep.
It's an old one, but it's a good
great.
one,
No doubt.
But yeah,
where does this drive come from? Of this, I'm going to do my best every day. I'm going to try to win my day every day. Is that just a result of everything all put together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Win over win.
Just win every day.
Well, win over win builds more, right?
Yeah.
So
brick by brick.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Wind in the sails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some momentum.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about, an hour ago, making those little good decisions, it starts to build momentum. Where when you make those little bad decisions, it builds that reverse momentum, the shitstorm that we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's all very true. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. If somebody wants to reach out to you, how can they find you on Instagram, and what's a good email for you?
You can find me on Instagram at Kirt Sting, KIRTSTING, or my name, Kirt, KIRT, Linington, LININGTON. And a good email is Kirt L, KIRTL, at linearroofing.com.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for your time.
Yep.
That was great. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Kirt's awesome. Love those words of wisdom. I've known Kirt for a bit, and he's a real inspiration and a guy to really keep an eye on. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'd love to know what you think about our podcast. Please feel free to drop a comment below. Also, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Jess from the Northwest. You can always email me if you'd like to work together live at autographconstruction.com. We'll see you next time.